Hag Hamatzo Shalom. Some believe that leaven represents sin in the sacrificial system, but a thorough inspection of the offerings warrants a different conclusion. Let's start by looking at the Passover. In Exodus 12, verse 8, it says that the Passover is to be eaten in the 14th night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So we see that the Passover is eaten with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Following the Passover is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, where no leaven is to be found in all of the coast of Israel, and unleavened bread is to be eaten for 7 days. So let's look at the other feasts. Leviticus 23 verse 17 says, Ye shall bring out of your habitation 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour, they shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahuwah. So we see that during Shavuot, 2 loaves with leaven are waved before Yahuwah. And finally we get to Sukkot, where there is no specific instruction regarding bread. So let's see what we can determine from the other offerings. Leviticus chapter 6, beginning at 14, gives us the specifics regarding the grain offering, which is also called the meat offering. Verse 17 says, It shall not be baked with leaven. I have given it unto them, meaning the priests, for their portion of my offerings made by fire. So no leaven for the grain offering. But if we go to Leviticus chapter 7, verse 11 says, This is the law of the sacrifice of peace offerings, which he shall offer unto Yahuwah. If he offer it for a thanksgiving, then he shall offer with the sacrifice of thanksgiving unleavened cakes mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and cakes mingled with oil of fine flour fried. Besides the cakes, he shall offer for his offering leavened bread with the sacrifice of thanksgiving of his peace offerings. So with the thanksgiving offering, as with the Feast of Harvest, we see leavened bread being offered. So let's go to Leviticus 2 to get some more information on the grain offering. Verse 11 says, No meat offering which ye shall bring unto Yahuwah shall be made with leaven, for ye shall burn no leaven, nor any honey in any offering of Yahuwah made by fire. So now we have an additional detail that honey is also unable to be burned on the altar. And this is particularly interesting because if we go to Exodus chapter 3, when God spoke to Moses at the burning bush, verse 7 reads, And Yahuwah said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, unto a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. The honey represents the goodness of the land that God is going to bring Israel into, as opposed to where they currently are, which is Egypt. And God is contrasting this new good land that he is going to give to them with the land where they are currently being afflicted. If we skip down to verse 17, it says, And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. So the same dynamic again. Egypt is the land of affliction. The land of Canaan is the land flowing with milk and honey. So on this note, let's look at the feast again, but this time in Deuteronomy chapter 16. Starting with tabernacles in verse 13, it says, Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine, and thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant, thy maidservant and the Levite, the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are within thy gates. There is a commandment to rejoice during this feast. So let's look at the Feast of Harvest. Verse 10 says, And thou shalt keep the Feast of Weeks unto Yahuwah thy God, with the tribute of a freewill offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto Yahuwah thy God, according as Yahuwah thy God hath blessed thee. And thou shalt rejoice before Yahuwah thy God, in the place which Yahuwah thy God hath chosen to place his name. So again, during the Feast of Harvest, where there is an offering of 2 leavened loaves, there is also a commandment to rejoice. So now let's look at the Passover. Verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yahuwah thy God. For in the month of Abib, Yahuwah thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yahuwah thy God of the flock and the herd in the place which Yahuwah shall choose to place his name there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life. So here we are told plainly that unleavened bread is the bread of affliction. This means that leaven is not representative of sin, but it is representative of mirth and joy. And this is why we see leaven included in the Thanksgiving offering and also in the Feast of Harvest. Because in the Feast of Harvest, Israel is reaping the benefits of the good land flowing with milk and honey that God has given to them as their own. So thank you for joining me. Feel free to drop any comments, concerns, agreements, or disagreements in the comment section below. I hope that this study has blessed you and inspired you to search further into Yah's word. May Yahuwah bless you and keep you. May Yahuwah shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.